This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections.
Welcome to Race in Action Today. We're here today in Springfield, Massachusetts to cover a very special event called Indian Day, meaning the Indian motorcycle, which was produced in Springfield, Massachusetts, dating back all the way to 1901. I think you better find yourself a very comfortable chair and relax. We're about to see what Indian motorcycles are all about and the people who keep their history alive. Yes, we have Henry Gregory with us, who owns this absolutely gorgeous Indian motorcycle, 1948, I believe, and I bet you know a little bit about this bike.
Yes, sir. It took me about 4 years to restore it. And originally it was my uncle's bike, and he's from Sugar Grove, Pennsylvania, my Uncle Jack. And he gave it to me, and he said I could have it. All he wanted to do was take one more ride on it. So after 4 years, up 2001, I missed coming home here for 2001 with the Indians, but I made it in 2002. And it was a lot of work, but it was well worth it, you know. And my uncle got one more ride on it. He came out and rode it when I got it all done. Took his ride around the yard, and he said, "That's it, it's yours." So
I'll tell you, the bike is absolutely gorgeous, and it has to be not an easy thing to restore these bikes.
Well, I got to give credit to Bob's Indian in Edders, Pennsylvania. He helped me out quite a bit, and if it hadn't been for him, and I took pictures of everything. Everything I took apart. The bike had never been taken apart, you know, so I made my own parts manual, more or less. I took pictures of everything, bagged everything, laid everything out, and so that I knew how, because there's no manuals really, to assembly manuals, so you're kind of on your own there. And with a lot of help from Bob and my manual that I put together, I was able to, this is a finished product.
Now, tell me, did your uncle buy it in Pennsylvania? Or?
I think he did buy it in Pennsylvania. I know he rode it to Brewster, New York back in '52, and he bought it after he got out of the Army in Korea. He was over in Korea, and he bought it. And the last time it ran was, I believe, '63. He parked it in the barn that sat there, and actually the barn fell down on it. And the horse ate the seat, and the windshield was broken, and but it's all the original sheet metal, and the original engine, everything is all original. The only thing I added the running lights, but it's all the original sheet metal. And it originally had a buddy seat, and I converted it to a solo seat. And
yeah, the history here in Springfield is something special, you know.
Oh yes, this is great. It really. Esther did a good thing, donating all her stuff to the museum. It's fantastic. Really enjoy it.
Well, we want to thank you for the interview, and I'll tell you, we're going to enjoy today because I'm like a kid in a candy store here. I don't know what to look at.
Oh, it's a beautiful day too. Yep. Well, thank you. It was nice talking with you.
Thanks a lot, Henry. You were great. Yes, we have Barry Powell with us, who owns this absolutely gorgeous Indian Chief. I think it's a 1951, but I think you may know a little bit about this bike, Barry.
Well, back in 1989, I met a guy named Buzz Cantor, and he got me interested in Indian Chiefs and everything else, so I figured, man, I'd love to have one of those bikes, and he's the editor of a magazine that he puts out, American Iron. And since then, I've become a member of the Motorcyclist Post, which is a great magazine that goes around New England. And I've just dedicated my last few years of my life to building up and taking old Indians whenever I can and helping people restore them. This Chief in particular here was found in a garage in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, laying on its side and a bunch of junk. And I didn't realize at the time what it was, but when I checked the numbers and everything else, it came out to be the golden anniversary model, 1901 to 1951. And it was completely trashed, fenders were cut up. There were 25 holes back here in the rear fender that didn't belong here. The bars had the welds in them. Everything was cracked and broken and rusted. So every piece on this bike has been refurbished or replaced. I've had it since, well, restored since 1994. This maiden voyage, of course, was to the old Indian Day that was held by Esther Mathis down on, what was the name of that street? I forget. But
That was the original building, right? Part of the original factory.
well, it was the second part of the factory. When they moved out of the original factory, the last remaining Indians were done down there in that area. James Street, St. James Street, off of St. James Street. And a couple of years ago, when Esther decided to donate the collection here at the museum, I figured it would be a good idea to fix up my old Pontiac here and have that painted with the logo on the side, Indian motorcycle, and make a little show of things. Although this bike has been ridden all over the country, I put probably 50, 60,000 miles on it. No problem. I do own a Harley Davidson also. I have a pack that goes on the back, right back here.
That's all right. We'll take a picture of that. We'll take a picture of that after.
But I mean, it's been used for traveling quite a bit. I've been across the country with it a couple of times, down south, and I just really enjoy owning the Indian, especially having an Indian that this wonderful, the Golden Anniversary Chief.
Now tell me, this bike has a few things that are kind of rare too, doesn't it?
Well, it's not so much that it's rare, but in the 1950s they changed to a telescopic fork. It's also an 80 cubic inch, has a compensated sprocket. It came out with Bonneville cams. And they didn't change a lot. They changed the fenders a little bit. It's been personalized with some beadwork that my mother did years ago, and you know, a few little extras that make the bike yours.
It's pretty. I'll tell you, it's a pretty bike, and I love your car there. We're gonna have to take a few shots of that, but
Well,
I got a feeling you're certainly having fun.
I'm having a lot of fun. That car was another project. That took me 10 years, and come to find out, I didn't realize when I bought it, it was garbage too. That there's only 24 known to exist in the world.
Wow, that's a rare car. We're gonna take some shots of that, and I have to tell you, the bike is absolutely gorgeous. You know the history in and out, but I bet you really had some fun putting it together.
Well, I'll tell you, it starts out as fun, but then it gets to be a project. So you've got to persevere. I would say that the only way you're ever going to finish a project is you have to dedicate yourself to at least one night a week. You got to say to yourself you're going to go out there, because a lot of people have got projects they've started, they've wanted to finish, and it gets tiring. You just got to keep plugging and plugging and plugging, and yeah, when you're done, there's a lot of fun to be had.
Absolutely. We want to thank you. You've been very good. I know you're going to have some fun here today, and we're going to have to get into the history of these bikes a little more in the future on some more shows.
Here we go. Nothing like an Indian.
Nothing like an Indian. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Barry's bike was sure beautiful, I'll tell you. This Indian Chief is really something special. Just a great piece of history.
Yes, we come across a familiar face, Roland Hood, with this absolutely gorgeous four-cylinder Indian. But I'll tell you, Roland, today I'm more interested in this papoose you're calling it.
1948 Indian papoose, imported by Indian, made to be basically, during the war, it was paratrooped with the paratroopers over World War II, Germany, France, and all that. It was a portable motorcycle, and they would actually throw these out of planes with parachutes. And if they survived, the paratroopers would start them up, and they could for about 100 miles before the gas tank. So, and they resold them after the war as an American portable motorcycle. Throw them in your trunk, do some errands, and put them back in your trunk. And very few survived after the war.
So, tell me, did they make them in big numbers?
No, very low numbers. It really didn't catch on too much after the war. A lot of problems chasing parts down, and just like this one here needs to be totally restored someday. And basically it's bond fresh. So for now, it's bond fresh in the way it is, and eventually it might be restored.
Well, I'll have to say, there's quite a difference between the two machines here today. Now tell me about your four-cylinder. That is a very special one.
Yeah, four-cylinder Indian made four-cylinder up to 1942. It was a very expensive motorcycle to make. It cost as much as a car. One of the biggest problems, it was very expensive to make compared to the Chief. And after the war, aluminum became very expensive, and so they discontinued it after the war, and the last one that was made was 42. So any four-cylinder Indian is worth quite a bit.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I'll tell you, you did an absolute wonderful job with it. But I've seen other bikes you've worked on too. You got quite a collection.
Yeah, I like the old stuff. I got a bunch. I'm always working on one or two, and that's my hobby. That's my life. So.
Now you saw home close by too, right?
Yeah, Andover, Massachusetts. So it's right down the road from me.
Yeah, that's a great thing, and I have to commend you. Every time I see you, you certainly have something unique, and you didn't fail me today.
Well, thank you. I enjoy doing the shows, and it's fun.
Well, we want to thank you for your interview, and hope you do well here today, but I think we're probably going to have more fun than anything.
That's the whole idea, to have fun with it.
All right.
Thank you.
A lot.
All right.
Thanks, Roland. You're all right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, this little Indian papoose was really something that I never even knew existed. I mean, talk about a piece of history. Something that was used in the war. Looks like a little mini bike. Another thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize, that Indian evidently made some bicycles for a period of time. We did see an example at the show, and that was the first time I've ever seen that. So, beside motorcycles, they did venture into the bicycle business, as you could see, and it was really nice to see that for a change. And how about that four-cylinder looking at in the background? I mean, this show just had it all.
That's the real way to spell it.
Yes, we have Rocco Liganetti here with this absolutely gorgeous, brand new Indian. I'll tell you what, so this color and everything is just gorgeous. What could you tell us about this bike?
Well, this is 2011 Chief Vintage Navajo turquoise and white with distressed leather. All the bike's complete. Everything that there is to want in a new Indian. Bikes, we tell people, they come in, they're a little sticker shock, yes, but they're pricey. But you got to look at the bike, you got to know what the bike is, and you take it from there. 1720 cc's, 105 cubic inch engines, 6-speed Baker transmissions, all the chrome, the paint, the distressed leather packages like you've never seen on any motorcycle ever. White wall tires, two-tone paint, with braided cables, triple disc Brembo brakes. The frame was designed by Faraci, which is an Italian manufacturer. Samson designed the exhaust on them. They have braided cables, Brembo brakes. The list goes on and on and on. We could spend hours giving everything that the bike has.
Now, where do you go?
Well, in the last couple of months, Polaris Industries has just acquired Indian motorcycles from Steve Julius. Steve is an entrepreneur that goes around and buys defunct companies and resurrects them, gets them to a plateau, and more or less passes them on to someone else. So Polaris Industries has just acquired Indian motorcycles to bring them to the next level. I'm from the Worcester, Mass. Indian Motorcycle and New England dealership, and I'm up here with Indian Corporate.
Do you have a website where people could see what you do there?
Yeah, we do. We're Indian Motorcycles, OFNE, Indian Motorcycles of New England.
Well, I'll tell you, this bike is just gorgeous. I don't know what it costs, but it's and it brings you back to the old days. You know, the vintage era is alive and well.
Yes, it is. And you know, again, I hate to bring up price, but they are pricey. But look at the bike, come and test drive them at my store in Worcester. We do appointments on Sundays, Mondays, whatever. You know, or we'll deliver a bike to you.
Either way, right? Well, we want to thank you, Roscoe. It's been nice to talk with you. We sure have some beautiful products here. We may have to just take a ride up and catch you.
Good, we'd love to see you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
That time we sold basically to the motorcycle police departments and very, very few.
Yes, we have Butch Bear with us, who has these absolutely gorgeous Indian motorcycles here. We're with one particular model here that kind of stands out, and I think you know a little bit about this bike, Butch.
This is a 1930 Indian four-cylinder. The four-cylinder was like the Rolls Royce of motorcycles back in the days. And I had purchased this. Some fellow had spent about 12 years collecting parts, and he had about 75% of the parts, which I bought all the parts from him. And from there, I decided to build myself a personalized road job. So I've updated the cycle quite a bit with modern disc brakes and everything, so I can ride it in modern traffic and still be able to stop during the day. That was the most important thing, to be able to stop.
Now they're rare too.
These were very, very rare, especially in 1930. We were just getting into the Depression, and most of the four-cylinders were at that time were sold basically to the motorcycle police departments, and very, very few civilized cycles at all sales.
Now your father had something to do with the Indian too, or selling them?
Back again during the Depression, of course, the Indian factory in 1931 had lost their local dealership. The local dealer had gotten killed in a cycle accident, and they didn't have any local outlet for their Indian motorcycles. So the factory decided to set up a retail distributorship dealership in the basement of the Indian factory on the State Street side, and they offered my dad the position of being the dealer into the factory sales. So that's where I grew up as a young man. Dad took it over in 1933.
And he sold the bikes right in their
and
factory?
He was the retail dealer outlet. So
how long did he do that?
Fritzy did that until 1940 or 41, 1941 I believe. And that was the war years, and Dad moved up into the factory for the war year as production for the U.S. government, War Department.
Wow, so he's got quite a history there.
So after the war, they made Fritzy the factory representative for the United States, and he traveled the nation to try to bring back the pre-war dealerships back into form again. And shortly after that, he moved up to Laconia, and as a New England dealer, he had started the Gypsy Tour events up into Laconia and the 200-mile national motorcycle race, and they invited him up to take over the Belknap recreational area. So he moved up into Laconia and ran Laconia, Belknap County, which is now Gunstock. He did that for the next 15, 20 years, and then he retired. But all his life, from 1916, when he bought his first Smith motor wheel, till he died, he was an Indian fan and a very strong motorcycle enthusiast. And that's how his children grew up, and it's always been so.
Well, I'll tell you, just looking at what's going on here today tells you a little bit about the history and the legacy left behind by the Indian bike.
Well, these are like the Rolls Royce of the motorcycle world. The motorcycles that were built prior to 1953. And they're all a collector's item and a joy to ride. And people just love them.
Well, we want to thank you for having a word or two with us. And I know one thing, I'm sure you're going to have some fun here today.
Oh, it'll be a great day. It always has been. I'm glad to see it back.
Thanks so much. You were excellent.
Thank you.
Yes, we have Steve Montagno, who owns this absolutely gorgeous Indian. I don't even know what it is, but I got an idea you know a little bit about it.
I know a little bit about it. This is what they called a dispatch tow. And back in the 30s, Indian came up with an idea that the auto mechanics could come to your house and pick up your car, and it would save the work of, it would do the work of 2 mechanics. So the advertisement for the bike was that Indian Dispatch Tow does the work of 2 mechanics. One mechanic would drive to your house. He would hook this tow bar up to the front of your car, or to the back of your car, and then drive your car to the shop, do the service on the car, and then ride the car back to your house, jump on the dispatch tow, and drive back to the shop.
Wow, that's got to be kind of a rare thing, no?
It is pretty rare.
This device here.
That's the tow bar that would swing down and hook to the back bumper of the car. And Harley Davidson did the same thing. They did dispatch tows, they did survey cars for police departments, things like that. But the Indian was pretty rare. They did a lot of, they say almost 5,000 Harleys every one Indian.
Is that right?
Yeah. And this particular bike came out of Connecticut. It was a Indian dealer out of Thompsonville that had this bike in his garage. The family still owned it up to about a few months ago when I was lucky enough to find it.
Wow, I'll say so. This got to be a rare piece.
Yeah, it's funny. I never saw another one in person until I bought this one. Then you hear about different guys that have them, and there was one at a recent show that was all apart. It was in a basketball car. But the complete original bike that survived, this many years is pretty rare.
Where do you call home?
I live in Agawam. I grew up in Springfield. I worked for the city of Springfield for 35 years. Springfield is really my home, but I moved to Agawam a few years ago. I live in Agawam.
Yeah, so the history here in Springfield with these Indians is really special.
Not only the Indians, I mean, back at the turn of the century, Indian had, the Westinghouse, the American Bosch, Rolls-Royce, Duryea automobiles. It's like an industrial capital of the world.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to find out about those vehicles that Rolls-Royce built here. Making them actually American vehicles.
Yeah, they were, and there were some that didn't survive quite as long as the Rolls-Royce either. In the museum here, there's a Duryea, which is one of the first production cars in the country.
Well, one thing, we want to thank you for talking with us, and I'm sure you're going to have some fun here today with this vehicle. And I got to commend you. I mean, not everybody can find one of these bikes.
It takes a little while. It's a passion and a love that you search them out and you wait for the right time. And I guess tenacity is the word,
Yeah, you got to be persistent.
Yeah, and they're out there. It's just they're very hard to find, and when you see one, I guess you got to make a move and get it.
Well, we want to thank you. The bike is gorgeous, and the history about it, the way it towed cars and this and that. I am just perplexed by it. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, that's back in the days when service was service, pick up and deliver.
That's right. It's like a doctor used to come to the house.
Exactly. Yeah. And today, that tow bar there, you couldn't even hook that to a car today because it's all plastic bumpers.
Yeah.
The cars were made of steel and heavy metal.
I want to thank you, Steve. You were great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good luck today.
All right, thank you.
Yes, this dispatch tow was really interesting. As we near the conclusion of our show, and we're going to show you some pictures of some of these bikes that we had a chance to chat with their owners. It was really an interesting day here at Indian Day in Springfield, Massachusetts. I hope everybody has enjoyed the show as much as we did producing it. It was just one outstanding day. And I hope to return, as this is really a great event. This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections. Thanks to the Race in Action Today crew, Dwayne Cody, Bill Majak, David Seidlinger, and Lisa Backus. And also we want to thank our home station, Nutmeg TV, for all their support and all the great things they do. We want to thank Pryor Brothers Fabricating in Berlin, Connecticut for all their support and all the great things they do back at their shop. And also we want to thank Just Results Weight Loss Center in Bristol, Connecticut for all the wonderful things they do and the great support they give us.